right. I think we are live on Facebook, YouTube.
Sean, did we do the port matched question last week? Didn't we do that? I mean, we can hit it again real quick. It seems.
I actually don't have my phone on me, so I hope we're up on Instagram.
Yeah.
All right.
Are we up and running?
I think we're good on everything.
Everything? Okay. All right, everybody. Welcome to the 034 Motorsport live chat. This is 46?
49.
49.
Went backwards a couple.
Jeez. Yeah, so episode 49, which I guess it's been about a year since we started.
Getting there.
We've only missed 1 week in the last year, I believe, so we're coming up. Anyways, thanks for joining us. We're just letting people show up and get going.
Yep.
This is a question and answer session. You guys can submit your questions. We'll be happy to answer just about anything. I don't think we've ever turned down a question. Certainly automotive related topics, anything 034 related. You love us, you hate us. Happy to address any issues or concerns that anyone has. I'm not trying to, typically don't run from issues and problems. We face them head on. Anything you want to know about Nate and I, I've given cooking advice, relationship advice, 3D printing expert over here, among many other things. Computer programming, you want to know how to get in the industry, whatever, this is all stuff we talked about. So, why don't we jump into it? We have some questions coming in already. So, someone's asking, when do you expect to move your ZF TCU tune out of beta status? That's a good question.
It's a really good question. Very soon, we're probably going to be wrapping more of that up as we are nearing release on the B9 software, which is also going to have a bunch of ZF, tie-ins with it, because we're going to be doing ZF TCU along with that. So it'll probably all be happening and finalized right around the same time, I think.
So hopefully in the next month or two.
Yep. We'll have some more.
And what are some of the anything specific here? Is it just debugging?
It's just most of it honestly is I just need to get some more of the stuff finalized for the launch control and off the line characteristics. The rest of it's honestly pretty much just going to be where it's at now. I mean, we say it's in beta, but it's not.
It's
a good file. It's like 90% there. There's a couple little refinements I want to make for launch control stuff and some high RPM shift tweaks, but
I think a better term would be pre-release or something like that. Like, we haven't released it.
I mean, what we're calling beta is above and beyond what most people have released for these over the years. So
it's just not up to our final standard.
It hasn't gone through all of the processes that we would normally do for a release like this. It was something we had to get done for a number of reasons so that it would work at all with our ECU, because of the way we properly output the torque numbers from the ECU. So it's required that we have a TCU file on a number of these cars.
So the other thing to remember is, once this file is no longer beta, the price will double, essentially. Yes. So now is the time to get it for $250 if you want it.
Yep.
And again, our upgrades, we don't charge for upgrades.
Yep.
On any tuning. Someone's asking, I thought I answered this last
upgrades we charge for.
Did I say upgrades?
Yeah.
Updates. Yeah. If you're upgrading from stage 1 to stage 2, there's a small fee for that. But the updates, right? Anything like any of the updates we released for BA tuning going back 5 years was all free, including the new advanced launch control.
Yeah, and it's not just an update. I mean, it's like
it's a whole new
a paradigm shift in what you're getting for the software. You've got this, fully customizable launch system and a bunch of other features that come along with it.
Plenty of other companies would consider charging for some of that stuff.
Yeah, and you get always whatever, if you come out with a new octane mapping or a new fuel support, that's always wrapped in with it.
I thought we answered this last week, but it's still here. So someone's asking, will it be worth it to port match when you guys sell your bigger throttle body when using Joker's port, since it's opened up more? I think my position is there's probably not much to gain on porting the super duper charger housing and the throttle body into the opening. I don't think the opening into the intake into the supercharger head unit is a big restriction. It's possible there could be a measured flow improvements. It's possible that you could measure some increase of horsepower. I'd be surprised. So my point is, if you can get it done, feel free and make that whole flow path really nice and smooth. But I wouldn't stress about it if you don't. You're not leaving 20 horsepower on the table or anything like that. So. Someone's asking, did I hear you say you guys are testing the DSC dynamic magnetic rod controller in-house? We do currently have one, and we are playing with it and testing it. I don't know if there's much else to say.
No, we haven't really.
How do people hear this?
We haven't really done much more with it. We got it installed.
We have.
It's installed. The cars are going through some other work, so it hasn't even really had any road miles on it yet. So once it's up and going and we've got some testing done and can start tweaking it, we'll let you know.
Yeah. This is kind of an interesting question. The best moment you've ever had in a car and the worst moment you've ever had in a car. I don't know if I can talk about the best moments I've had in a car.
Let's keep it car related. I'm gonna just go with like the first time I ever got to like drive my own car on my own, like that. It's like freedom. You're out. You've got your own thing. You're living the life in Maine in my Renault Encore.
Yeah, that sense of freedom and infinite possibilities of being able to drive yourself places.
Yep.
And then the Renault like breaks down at the end of the driveway.
I was shifting the first time I ever drove it. I was shifting it with vice grips. So yeah, it had.
There you go.
It had moments. Worst moment.
Yeah, we'll think about that for a second. I have never thought about this question. It's a good question, but I'm sure if I thought about it more, I could come up with other things. But I would say there's multiple like firsts. So like some of the best moments were the first time I drove ADTQ on 034 EFI. It was a standalone engine management controller that me and a few other engineers came up with, and it like drove my car down the street and ran really good, actually. I think the first time I turboed my 80, and I think the first time I accelerated hard in it, and I think I got the car up to like 150 miles an hour somewhere, and I was just like crying, of like tears of joy. And then I think one of the funnest, most amazing experiences was running 148 miles an hour in the quarter mile and the Time Attack A4. Just that feeling of acceleration, and that car was not easy to drive. Like all these guys running 8s and RS3s, you just hold down the pedal and it's just, you just hang on to the steering wheel. That car had a Tilton triple clutch that held 1,200 foot-pounds of torque, and it had a GT 42 RS, so a really big turbo that didn't spool to 6,000, and then a pretty crude launch control, like a two-step style launch control that would either bog or blaze all four tires, unless you got it exactly perfect
through a somewhat mild reworked Audi 6-speed 01E transmission.
Yeah, and a 10.5 on Continental.
Yeah, that was
street tires.
And the street tire aspect was also another huge part of it.
So getting releasing the clutch exactly right, waiting for the launch control to come up to the exactly the right load and boost pressure, launching it, then pedaling, the throttle, keeping the tires just on the edge of traction while releasing clutch at the same time, and then banging into the rev limiter just long enough to get the RPMs just high enough so that second gear won't bog, and then basically having to do the whole thing over in second gear just to keep the car moving down the track. So all while basically launching on what feels like ice. So that was a really cool moment and a fun experience. But man, I think probably for us, compared to the average civilian, we've had, like, we could write books about the positive experiences we've had.
Yeah, I'm struggling to find a worst experience. Like
that's I think I've been in a few car accidents. Those sucked. When I was like 21, I crashed my Audi 4000 up on Skyline. You know, I'd never lost control of a car. I thought I was like Dunning-Kruger, like Mount Stupid. Like I thought I was the best driver in the world, and then completely lost control of the car, crashed into a mountain. Had 2 friends in the car. Thankfully, nobody got hurt. Totaled my car. That was a huge lesson, and a huge lesson in humility. And I came down off of Mount Stupid pretty fast after that. But
Yeah, that's a good.
but yeah, I mean that's probably one of the worst experiences I've had. But ultimately, do I regret it? No. I mean, it taught me a lot about
Yeah,
driving.
that's kind of where I'm at. Like for car things, like it's always been like, well, this sucks. That was rough, but now I know how to do things better
Yeah,
afterwards, whether it's mechanical or driver mod.
I think if I had ever done something to hurt or God forbid kill someone in a
Yeah,
car,
thankfully I have not been in that position. So
that would be devastating. But we've had so many good experiences in cars. It's hard to realize. And then there's all the ones I can't even tell you about. So
Yep.
All right, good question though. Thanks, guys. Looking at B8.5 and B9S4, what's your opinion on each? Reliability, development, looks, etc.
Totally different.
I mean, both are a good choice, right? So we could just talk about if you want to get into something that has everything available for it. That's the development has been pushed for 8+ years, has every kind of mod you could want on the market already. Get into the B8.5. It's an older car. It's a nice car, but when you get into a B9S4 with a seat massager, you're going to realize what nice is.
Yeah.
So you're getting the older tech, older interior, older parts. The cars are freaking fast. They're fun to drive. They handle well. But if you want something newer, that's, unfortunately in the beginning of its product life cycle, now there's actually quite a bit you could do.
Yeah.
But like 3 years ago when we got ours, there was nothing, and so we created a whole product line. And now the tuning is coming.
Tuning's coming out.
I think by the end of this year, B9S4 tuning options, we will have released ours soon. And
I would
there'll be a lot of options.
Yeah, if it's possible, I would get some seat time in each and see what kind of suits your cravings better. They drive very, very differently. They look similar on paper. They've got similar power numbers stock. They've got similar feature sheets stock, power wise, but they couldn't drive more different between the two of them. The B9 is very obviously a super or a turbocharged, and automatic. The B8.5 is going to be a supercharged, dual clutch transmission. So
yeah. But
they both do things very well. Similar things very well, but they feel very different.
Yeah, and they're of course very different priced.
Yeah,
B9 is going to be
even talking like the logistics of it, right?
Yeah. So you have to keep in mind that you get a lot of nice things, but you're going to pay for it. So if you have a limited budget, then and you really want to mod a car, then get into an older B8.
Yeah.
And then you'll have that. The difference between the B8 and the B9, you could do a lot of mods. You could do a lot for $10,000 on a B8.
Yep. But if you're
everything,
and if you're looking for something to eat up like tens of thousands of highway miles a year, I would go B9, no question.
Yeah, it's really nice. The ZF8's really nice. It's a small downgrade from the DSG, but it's shockingly good. So, yeah, hopefully that helps. But I think a lot of it's going to come down to money. I think if you had the budget, B9 makes a lot of sense. Any update on the 0 through 4 Super Duper Charger throttle body? Asking to wait on purchasing before sending out my IE throttle body to port match with my supercharger. We're very close to releasing it, probably within a month or so. We have finalized pricing, which is excellent. We will be retailing the full kit with a throttle body for $595. We will also sell a hardware only kit that's just the housing, the cast aluminum housing, and some of the hardware in case you already have a throttle body or whatever. And of course, and if you buy the full kit and you own our B8 tuning, then we will give you the throttle body file for free.
Yeah, it's already there. It's already on.
You already have access.
You can already flash it.
But you just have to buy our tune. Once you have our tune, you'll have access to the hardware
2+, yeah.
for 2+. Yeah, yeah. It's not a stage 1 mod, right?
Yeah, I mean,
There would be no reason.
why would
Yeah. But yeah, so it's coming out very soon. I would recommend waiting. It's called Super Duper. I mean, what more is there to say? I mean,
What side?
the 84,
84 millimeter throttle body?
Yeah. So we're basically selling the throttle body for about $300, and the kit's about $300. So it's about $600. But it'll be $595, and I think that's the best priced option on the market by far.
I think so.
Especially with the true adapter.
Yeah, and this is
Oh.
an actual cast, transition versus,
The plate
plenum
option,
versus a transition plate.
the plate options shouldn't even be considered in the same
No.
product category. So yeah, I think our main competition is like 700 or maybe 800. Yeah, we always look at market pricing when we set our pricing. We benchmark our pricing against everything else out
Yeah,
there.
and of course, material and workmanship costs
Yeah.
are, because we don't make things the same way as everybody else. Yeah, $800.
Yeah, so the next option out there is $800, and I think ours is quite a bit nicer as well. And we use an 84 mil throttle body versus an 80. So, all right, next question. What do you guys think on the updates from Jay and Marcus Port Injection and also Merc Racing with their new ideas of developing a new supercharger design besides the 740 APR charger and the Whipple charger? E80, highest the tank would go with port injection, 560 wheel horsepower.
Yeah, so those numbers I would take with I'm not sure 560 wheel, how much weight I can get compared to dynos out there.
Yeah.
Just from what does the dyno read normally kind of aspect. But as far as the hardware that's coming out for this is the adding port injection to the 3-liter supercharged motors. We're looking forward to it. We've got some really good ways to integrate that. Far above and beyond just sticking a supplemental fuel controller on it and trying to keep the ECU happy without knowing what that's doing. So we have the ability to tie it in, basically directly with the ECU and tell the unit how much blend we want and tell it how much fueling we're giving it. So yeah, we've got support already in the works that we're working on for supplemental fueling. As far as getting huge power out of it, I'm not sure yet what we'll be seeing from that. We haven't seen a huge power difference going full E85 versus E40.
Yeah.
But it will give you a lot more flexibility in what you want to run. Yeah.
Yeah, we're keeping an eye on all these things, and we'll support whatever we think is a worthwhile legitimate modification.
Yep.
We won't get behind or support products that we don't believe have technical merit.
Yeah.
All right. If I went dual pulley on my B8, do I have to run the dual pulley file all the time? I'm afraid of reducing reliability while cruising to work on dual pulley tuning
So
versus single pulley.
no, what you are doing is running light load. So this is going to have no effect. There's going to be no difference.
Yeah.
You're going to have a little tiny bit more parasitic loss because you're spinning the supercharger ever so slightly faster while cruising. But as far as load on the engine, exactly the same. Yep. It's going to target the same amount of vacuum while you're cruising. It's going to target the same air fuel and timing ratios. Everything is going to be identical.
But you do have to run the dual pulley file if you're running dual pulleys.
Yes and no. I mean, you can run the other files. You're going to get limited boost, and you're actually going to be generating more heat while doing it.
Yeah.
So you're basically people think they'll run the lower output files, run lower boost, and everything will be running more efficiently. What actually happens is you're bypassing that already hot air from the supercharger right back into its inlet again. So you're just basically reheating that same air again.
And the reason for that is boost on the B8 3.0T is controlled mechanically by the pulley ratios.
Right.
The ECU can control it by bleeding off the boost that's being created, but that's a very inefficient process. So
yeah. So ideally,
you're creating heat and then not using it and then dumping it back in.
Yeah. The most efficient is going to be with that bypass valve shut and whatever pulley ratio you want to target for the amount of boost you want to run. So if you don't want to run that much boost, run smaller pulley ratio.
Yeah, but the point is, there's no detriment to just driving around with a dual pulley.
Nope.
Compared to,
All of the light load cruise stuff is going to be identical across all of our files.
you'd actually be doing more harm by doing the thing that he thinks is better,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Which is,
It's a little maybe counterintuitive, but we don't alter, manipulate, or mess up the light load characteristics in any way between the files.
it's counterintuitive if you don't know how everything's working. Once you understand how it works, it's very intuitive.
And ideally, your drivability and your throttle response is going to be a little different between all of them because we do map the pulley ratio, as correctly as possible for the given ranges between stage 1, stage 2, and then stage 2 plus. So the ECU knows how fast the supercharger should be spinning. It knows roughly how much air should be moving through that supercharger, how much to open the bypass valve for part throttle drivability. So it's only going to be better if you run on the right file.
I'm looking at the 034 Hella Flush Kit. Does it come with horsepower stickers as well? Sure, why not? What's a horsepower sticker?
I mean, it kind of is. The whole thing is a horsepower sticker.
Like a sticker that's been impregnated with horsepower? Or
yeah, that's what I'm saying. The whole kit is a sticker. So
the horsepower is built into the
it's kind of like it's impregnated with horsepower.
Right. With real bits of horsepower, so you know it's good. Right.
Yeah, 60% of the time it'll work every time.
Yeah, no, the Hella Flush Kit is one of our most innovative products that we've ever created. Check it out on our website. I'm just waiting for us to get canceled from the product description because it's really spicy.
It's a little rude.
I would never be able to write that nowadays and publish that. But since it's been on the website for 10 years, then. But you should read it before it gets taken down.
Right.
I don't know. It depends if if we get canceled.
You do a lot of front groups.
Oh, just yeah.
Right.
And you go through Chrome and you can reverse it so you can still read it.
Yes. Yep.
All right. Have you ever thought of
Redact.
redact? Have you ever thought about opening an East Coast shop and still have the West Coast? Yes, I've thought about this.
We talked about that.
So the most realistic scenario that would play out is if you own a nice shop on the East Coast and you'd like to sell it, or you'd like to partner with someone like us to run it better, to take some of the financial pressure off your shoulders, to give you more resources, then I would be very interested to talk to you if you were. But yeah, if there's no reason we couldn't. We are in the process of acquiring other businesses to grow and expand the 034 Motorsport opportunity with our partners at the EMP Group, which owns MP and Racing Line and 034 Motorsport. But we're actually in the process of opening a second service facility about 20 minutes south of here in San Jose, and we definitely have a vision of opening more shops in this area as well as in the rest of the country. So I think opening a new shop from scratch isn't something that I would be interested in doing. That just sounds like a lot of work. But if someone is running,
Even though we're doing that. in San
Well,
Jose.
it's easy to do here,
Yeah.
but I don't want to have to
Right,
fly to
across
the
the
East
country,
Coast and
yeah.
do it, right? But if someone has a good shop out there and wants to consider partnering and taking things to a new level,
Yep.
then that would be something we would seriously consider.
Yeah, we talked about it a bit because it's such a different market over there compared to what we have here.
It is, yeah. And we are looking at acquisitions out there in that region as well. It would be nice for 034 to just have a footprint there,
Yeah.
even from a fulfillment standpoint, to
Yep.
to ship orders to our customers and dealers on the East Coast. All right. Are you planning to do ID4 electric car parts? Tuning, what will Dynamic Plus parts look like for electrics? Yes, we are.
Mhm.
We are very excited about the electrification of automobiles. Not like we have a choice,
Yeah,
but
it's coming.
we're choosing to be excited about it, and we do see the opportunities. Of course, all of our standard Dynamic Plus style products like springs, sway bars, inserts, and things like that brake upgrades will apply. Wheels and tires, DTF wheels for electric cars and things like that. And then we're also currently researching, the tuning ability. So a lot of these ECUs are actually not that different than they're the same ECUs.
I was actually playing with
right, as gasoline.
with my e-Golf over the weekend actually, just as an example, and it's essentially the same as
Even the tuning strategies,
as
the
a number of other
philosophy is-
ECUs we've got. Obviously they're a lot simpler because you've got way fewer moving parts. To it. So
a lot, no emissions.
no, no emissions. One, none of that. You're not controlling explosions within a motor. You're applying electric fields
Just
to a
some
very
electricity.
constrained environment. So
Current and voltage.
yep, frequencies, currents, voltages, all the much more controllable things by a computer. So
Yeah, so I think I see a lot of car guys, like on Facebook, for example, whenever electrification comes up, a lot of guys get angry and upset. I don't think ICE engine, internal combustion engines. I don't think ICE is going away. There will be ICE motors for a long
for
time,
quite some time.
and especially for like sports cars, and it's gonna be kind of this. It's gonna in 20, 30 years. I don't know. It's kind of like getting a manual transmission now, right? Like,
Yeah.
you can get
That's a
them.
good analogy.
There's not as many. A lot of people will question why you want that, but and then of course all the cars that are on the road aren't going to be taken off the road either. So, but it sounds like VAG will eliminate ICE and in the next 10 years or so.
Right. Yeah. Development, as far as
Yeah.
they're saying, has been stopped on.
They've stopped new ICE development as of now. So the new Gen 4 2.0T will be the last ICE four-cylinder, and they may make some small changes to it, but they won't. They're probably won't.
They're not
be a Gen
designing.
5.
Yeah, they're not designing any more architectures
Yeah.
from what they're saying.
That also means the current 4.0T Audi motor will continue. But there won't be a new version of that. The 2.5 will continue, but there won't be a new version of that.
Right.
But those motors will be replaced by electric motors in the next 5 to 10 years. So, that means for us, there's new ICE coming on the market for at least another 5 years, maybe 10. And we're doing 3.0T stuff right now that came out in 2013. So, or whenever that BA came out. So, for a tuning company like us and the tuning industry as a whole, that means anyone who wants to do internal combustion tuning has gotten a good 15, 20 years left of this. But I think if you're a company in the industry and you want to have a viable business opportunity in the next 5 years, you need to get serious about electrification. Yep. So, but maybe not. If you're our competitor, definitely don't do it. Just sit back and relax. Everything's going to be fine.
Yep.
But no, we're excited, and we believe that we will be able to tune them. There will be challenges, just like there've been for all the ECUs up to now.
Yeah, it's not an easy path we're on now with the combustion engine tuning.
Yeah. Are the density top mounts for the Mark 7R ridiculously stiff compared to the stock mounts? Well, that's a very technical engineering term, ridiculously stiff. They are a lot stiffer, yes. So the stock mounts are about 50 durometer to 60 durometer. There's a few different
with a bunch of
versions. We're talking about the Mark 7 strut mounts?
Mark 7. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I?
Top mounts.
Top mounts.
Yeah,
Yes, you're right. I'm sorry.
I mean, there's some voids, but they don't do anything. The main issue with the factory mounts, in addition to the rubber, is there's a metal sleeve with a cup on each side where the strut shaft goes through, and that is not bonded to the rubber. The rubber of the mount is not vulcanized to that cup. So when you drive the car hard or put stiffer shocks or struts on there, that cup starts moving and squeaking and it gets loose within the rubber. So our mount is vulcanized through and through, and we use a stiffer durometer rubber of 80 durometer, which is exponentially stiffer than 60. Now, as far as ridiculously stiff, what you feel in the car is going to be pretty subtle. It's not going to be ridiculously stiffer while you're driving the car. But the performance and durability of the mount is substantially better in this case. Um, and it is a lot stiffer.
Yeah.
Like,
It'll vary a lot more
Factors.
based on tire choice. For the amount of road noise and
stiffness,
impact
yeah.
you're going to feel.
Sure.
Impact you're going to feel.
Yeah.
From a NVH perspective.
hmm So there's a few more questions that have been assembled around our density line products, and so we've been kind of saving these questions up, and then we'll just talk about them in one segment, and then marketing clips it out and puts it on YouTube.
And it's a lot easier when we can also
Yeah.
have props that we can show you guys because explain some of these.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, do we have the stock mounts for these?
There should be some
I
examples
think,
out there.
we've got some stock mounts to kind of compare.
So there's some questions here. What's the goal behind density line products? It's a good question. So um, when I started 034 Motorsport, I remember thinking, I had heard. So this would have been around, 2002, 2003. And there you go. There were the old school early Audi transmission mounts, which everything ran going back to the 70s, and they're soft and squishy, and everyone hated them, and there was no upgrades for those, and so I became an ETCA expert in the late 90s, and I could see in ETCA that there were Audi Sport transmission mounts, and some of these were put on Sport Quattros and things like that, but they were in ETCA, and they were really hard to get. And I actually did end up getting some at some points, and it was the factory mount. It was just stiffer. But the problem is it still had big voids in it, and if you used them really hard, they would still fail. And so I thought, what if, why isn't there like an aftermarket solution that's the factory mount just re-engineered to perform better, just as if the factory wanted to do it, similar to these Audi Sport mounts, but even take every opportunity to make it better.
Yep.
And so I contacted one of the OE factories that made these mounts for Audis for years, and worked with them and basically created some prototypes, made the rubber stiffer, changed the voids, filled in some of the voids. Because even back then, you could take we used to take epoxy putty and stick it in the voids, or using that like 3M windshield glue and just to fill the voids. So I just went straight to the manufacturer and was like, let's just make it right as if Audi had done it. And so we released our first density line products in probably 04, 05.
Yeah.
We did the B5. I think we released that in like 06. We were still at the old shop.
Yeah, we did the
And
i5
then
stuff.
it just became wildly popular. I did all the i5 stuff,
Well,
all the B5
It
stuff.
just fixed so many problems that we were having.
Yeah.
with these mounts. And there's a lot of things that are tough to see. This is what, an i5 puck?
No, that's a B5.
B5 puck.
That's the
There's a bunch of other subtle changes that we did. Obviously the voids are filled. You can see there's normally in the sort
you
of
can see the difference,
these
but
cavities have
I don't know if you want to
have a hydraulic fluid in them. Yeah,
This is obviously missing the bottom cup, but you can show the voids and stuff like that.
It should focus.
Yeah. So the question is, what was the goal? The goal is to create an OEM mount that's designed right from the start for additional stiffness, and performance. But you get the idea if you're watching. And there's kind of, I don't know if it's an actual real debate, but there's plenty of companies even to this day that make poly mounts. It's the factory mount.
Yeah, now you done it.
Once you cut it in half. The debate between polyurethane and rubber for motor mounts, and so the goal was, if you buy a Ferrari or a Lamborghini, they don't come with like red poly motor mounts. They come with properly designed and engineered rubber mounts, just like our density mounts are. So the goal is to create a high performance mount using proven OEM manufacturing techniques and materials and concepts.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of other upgrades to them as well, where like the studs will rip out of the stock mounts on the bottom of these. We upgrade the bottom cup to steel.
Well, yeah, let's
aside
talk
from just
let's
the
talk this
rubber.
one specifically. So this is the B5 mount. Not only are the voids missing, not only is the rubber stiffer, the bottom cup on these, which this one, the OEM one, has ripped out. The whole bottom rips out. It's a stamped aluminum, so it's missing on this one because it was cut in half and it fell off. But our bottom cup is now carbon steel, so it does not rip out. Never. Also, the stud we've upgraded from 8 mil to 10 mil, so that's stronger and more durable. The crimp that holds this together, we've redesigned to make it's stronger. So there's a lot of little upgrades, and then we offer the street density and track density. And the street density, the idea here is to have minimal NVH increase. So it would be like if the car came with it from the factory, nothing's vibrating or shaking. There could be some small NVH, noticeable NVH, but acceptable to basically anyone that would drive the car. And then track density is you throw NVH out the window and you make the stiffest, best performing mount possible. Someone's asking part of these questions. I want to buy an N-Link, but don't want anything race car-ish. Do you offer an OEM Plus, Dynamic Plus solution? Yeah, so our Dynamic Plus end links and our density end links are designed to be, OEM factory replacements that offer, the function and reliability of the factory part, but are upgraded and better performing. These aren't going to rattle or make noise or things like that. Unlike our motorsport stuff, which is much stiffer and more adjustable, but it has some of the issues that come along with it. Why are your products better than the OEM replacements? So again, these products are density line products are typically more reliable than factory parts. I would say almost always, and better performing. So if you're looking for a stronger, more durable part that's heavier duty and better performing, then that's the idea behind our density products. Our density products are typically substantially cheaper than the factory parts.
Yeah, it's funny because I was just going through the list in my head. Like, there's a bunch of different compromises we make when designing these. Cost isn't as much of a concern just because we're not selling in the millions of these mounts per vehicle.
Yeah.
So we are able to use, higher quality or maybe more expensive techniques to manufacture these, like the steel cup, the larger studs, some different, you can see some different bolt capturing for the upper stud.
Yeah,
So
it can't rip out.
we're able to kind of, we can make these in a more expensive way than an OEM can. That is more performance oriented and more robust, where just different considerations for the design theory.
But yeah, our products are better than OEM replacements. I mean, that's the goal. Like, if we're coming out with a density product that's the same or worse as OEM replacement, I'm not gonna put 0 through 4 Motorsports name on that. That's literally not. We're this entire thing is about making something that's better. Everything we do is about improving, we're not just hucking, we're not some eBay reseller hucking crap out there from like some Chinese vendor. How are your control arms versus Miley? I don't spend a lot of time with Miley products or whatever. But Miley I think is a good, reputable OE replacement brand. They have an HD line, which I think, I don't know what their philosophy is behind HD other than it stands for heavy duty.
Yeah, and I know at least recently some of their stuff, like their end links, have all changed up in the last 6 months or something like that, where they used to be metal, now they've gone to plastic. So I don't know if they're just I'm not sure what their design philosophy is either, if they even have one, or if they're just relying on the manufacturer.
They're an OE replacement parts business. Their core customer is an auto repair shop where a customer comes in and needs their car maintained. So they're designing products for that. 0 through 4 Motorsport, on the other hand, all of our products are designed with the goal of the automotive enthusiast who loves to drive their Volkswagen or Audi vehicle, who loves to push it, who loves to make more horsepower with it, who loves to track it, who's kind of neurotic about the steering, the feel of the parts. A lot of you guys are data logging and doing quarter mile runs and analyzing every like second or microsecond. So you guys are a more refined, demanding audience, and that's who we're designing for. We're not just trying to get our parts in auto repair shops, although many auto repair shops do install our parts, and that's great. But that's not our goal. So I think not to say anything bad about Miley, but you just have to kind of think, what's their goal in bringing products to market and what's ours. And I think for anyone that's listening or watching this, they're gonna get their needs met better by using 0 through 4 motorsport products. So yeah, I mean, what that means is like our control arms are going to be designed, more for performance, for heavy duty driving, and there's only so much we can do. There's only so stiff we can make those bushings, that torsion, but we're doing that from the mindset and perspective of a performance tuner. Will your density line control arm parts last longer than stock? They should. We definitely make them to be durable.
Yep.
Depends how they're being used, what's being done, if they were installed correctly. With these control arms, they have to be installed correctly. If the bushings are not tightened at a static ride height, then it puts incredible undue stress on the bushings, and any bushing will fail in that kind of solution, in that situation. So our parts should last longer than stock. They are more heavy duty, and they can withstand more forces and loads than factory. Are your density line motor mounts any stronger than stock? This is a good question.
Well, I think we touched on a lot of those points already.
Yeah, they can be. So I think in the B5, our B5 mounts are infinitely stronger than the OEM ones. The OEM and the OEM replacements are really crappy. So we have done a series of things where we could, within the design, to address failure points. I think where it doesn't necessarily apply are these transverse motor mount products, like anything for the Mark IV, Mark V, Mark VI, Mark VII. We offer density line products, and we're pretty adamant that they're not necessarily stronger than stock. So don't get our density mounts if you want to go drag racing and do lots of hard launches.
Yeah, if you're on wrinkles of some sort.
Yeah, there's just limits to the factory design. These are cast parts, and they see a lot of stress. So we have our motorsport line of mounts, which covers that whole range, that are indestructible. Like the mount will never fail. And when you finally overload it, something else is going to break, but not the mount. But the point of the density line products for those transverse mounted is they do perform better. They're stiffer. You're going to have more precise throttle feel, throttle inputs, less wheel hop, less compliance in the drivetrain mounting. But can the density mount, withstand huge, high stress clutch dumps? Probably not any better than the stock mount. And I think we say that in all our product descriptions as well. So they are typically more durable in some of these applications, like the B5, the B8, much more durable mounts. Our B8 mounts are very popular. The factory ones are known to fail.
Yeah, the whole top kind of separates and rips apart.
So those are much more durable, and they will last longer. But I think the main issue is that transverse motor mount design. What Audi Volkswagen came up with just is pretty compromised.
And again, it works for their intended application with these
for stock cars. It works great.
Stock power output, stock tires, stock use cases.
Yeah.
But once you start going really extreme,
just
the physics of those mounts don't work out in their favor.
Yeah. All right. What is the greatest VAG chassis ever made?
Chassis?
I mean, the R8.
Well, VAG would be Porsche too right now. That's So we'd have
Yeah, let's not complicate things.
to, okay, Volkswagen.
Say
and-
Volkswagen Audi group. I mean, I think as far as like a sports car application, the R8's, you know, by far nothing even comes close.
Yeah.
As far as like a proper dual wishbone, I mean, the R8 has like the same suspension front and rear, essentially. You know, double wishbones front and rear.
So did an Audi 4000.
No, no, that's struts.
Yes.
Struts
Same
suck.
front and rear.
No, struts have no camber gain. So you know, you have a proper. If you kind of drew the ideal car on paper,
Yeah.
the R8 is
The R8's got
it.
way less compromises from a suspension geometry standpoint.
The compromise is there's only 2 seats and it costs $150,000 or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's that compromise.
That's the compromise,
Specific
right?
Compromise to suspension geometry is less.
Yeah, no, because the compromises always shift from one place to another, right? So you can't eliminate compromise. It's part of the equation, just a matter of where you put it. So I think that, but I mean, let's if we narrowed it down to sedans and stuff, I would say some of the newer, like the B9 chassis, is really nice. Again, proper double wishbone suspension, you know, multi-link suspension.
I mean, I guess, and also you'd have to kind of separate it by era. Like, what would be the most like if you want to talk like paradigm shifts in automotive technology? You're going back to like the Sport Quattro evolution.
Yeah, well, the Sport Quattro was paradigm shifting, and then the B5 was too.
the B5
'Cause the
like,
B5
reinvented Audi.
That was the first Audi that had, you know, proper wishbone suspension, multi-link suspension.
Front end, yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, for a long time, Audis and Volkswagens had that terrible solid beam twisting axle in the back, you know, that lifts the, you know, inside tire a foot off the ground. So, yeah, interesting question. Would you rather have a stock turbo RS3 or a hybrid turbo Golf RS3? This is easy. I mean, depends what you're looking for, but the RS3 right box
Just from a visceral, auditory, whatever you want to call it, it makes all the right noises.
Yeah.
It does all the right things.
S3s are cool. I spent 3 years in an S3. The problem is it's a 4-cylinder and they're cheaper. So, you know, if you want to get into a really fun
cheaper, they're a
Audi
little bit
sports
lighter.
car. But that 5-cylinder just transforms the car. Every part of the car is improved by that 5-cylinder. So, what are acceptable coolant temps on a dual pulley B8?
They should be about the same as they were before the pulley. I mean, normally on B8s, like with any of these cars, they're going to be around 100 C to 110 C, depending on load. Much more than that, you can start getting a little curious as to why you're making temps higher than that. But I mean, you know, I've tracked my B8, and you know, I don't see anything higher than that on tracks. So.
Why don't you offer a carbon fiber tube option for the B8 X34? How does your intake compare to IE or ECS? We don't, because a carbon fiber tube would be more expensive.
Yeah, we
And,
had one designed.
We did have one, but our goal was to bring a $350 intake to market that was better than anything else on the market, and we were able to achieve that goal with a silicone hose. Silicone's an excellent material for intake ducting. Like carbon fiber, it can be shaped into any organic, any shape that's conceivable. It can be shaped into easily, trivially,
Yes.
unlike fabricated metal, which becomes much more difficult to do. So we could do one and probably add $100 to the product. It wouldn't be a benefit. I don't know if that's something people want. We could consider it. The other thing is we have all these different configurations. So for example, the intake comes with a hose that goes to the stock throttle body. Now we're gonna have the super duper hose. With silicone, we can quickly tool up and do any kind of hose we want
And again, at the
for a
cost
really
point,
good
you know,
price. The price is
it
pricing.
would push the throttle body kit up another $100.
Yeah. So, and then I don't know. I mean, we love carbon fiber, but it does come with a lot of hang-ups. It does yellow in a heated environment. People are obsessive about microscopic scratches. I mean, we have
scratches like no other.
manufacturing department for half the time is like polishing microscopic scratches
We have
out
an
of
entire,
intakes.
hit of polishing equipment for carbon fiber.
So people can get really, really picky about it. And then if the weave isn't going the right direction, and you know, so there's some additional issues. But listen, we do it. I think we have more carbon intakes. You know.
Right, and manufacturing time, it takes a lot longer to produce carbon fiber in numbers. So getting inventory refreshed, keeping inventory on the shelf, carbon is tough because you're limited to how many molds you've got, and you know how quickly you can fill those molds and get
Yep. Awesome GTI is asking, Javad, where do you see 034 Motorsport in its direction over the next 3 years that differs to your competition? I think the next 3 years for 034, what we're planning is to continue to grow, to continue to expand into new products and services, to have a full engine calibration and tuning program for all new and current models, to be tackling products for new Volkswagen Audi models before they even hit the market. So a lot like another big company that's in the industry. That's the position and place that we would like to be.
And we've just started our ramp up in engineering. We're going to have more calibrators and more hardware guys coming on very soon.
Yeah, but the big change for us in the last year has been having access, financial resources, and business development and growth resources to really grow 034 Motorsport in a way that we were never able to do before when we were on our own and much smaller and privately funded by me. Now we have access to professional investors who seek a return on their investment, and so all we have to do is go to them with opportunities that have return, and it's a wide open door for us to tackle new opportunities. So I don't know how exactly that will differ from our competition. I think
we don't have a peak under everybody's veil.
Yeah, but I think generally speaking, most of our competitors in the industry won't have those type of resources, don't have access to that, and then there's people like Nate and me and other people here at the company who are some of the best in the world at what they do, and expanding and growing our resources and bringing in even more people like that. So I would say look for a lot of the same from 034 Motorsport, but even better and more of it. That's kind of the direction we're heading.
Yeah. We really want to flush out all those new models, both hardware and software. So
yeah, and I think in 3 years we'll be offering some really substantive electrified products as well.
Yes, that will be a very big shift for us.
Yeah. What are we doing?
Okay. 7 minutes. And I don't know if Facebook at this point is going to cut itself off because it had a start and a stop time. So if we just end right at 12, then it wasn't me. That was Facebook doing its thing.
How is the Joker's ported blower working for you guys? It's on the car.
No, not yet.
Oh, it's not
on
on
ours.
yet?
We're doing some other stuff to make sure we've got some solid baselines. We had some hangups on the completely unrelated stuff we're working on.
We'll keep you posted here.
The vehicles, the customer stuff that we've been, we've worked with, it's worked really well.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing more power out of the CREC versus non-CREC ?
A little bit. We honestly haven't done a ton of heavy development on it just because we're not at a point where we can flash it. But yeah, stock for stock, they do make a little more power. Same as like stage one. There's a little bit more in there, but not, like 50 wheel. But yeah, they generally make a little bit more.
New stage 3 kit for Golf R. I don't know which Golf R, but we will definitely be doing something for the Mark 8 Golf R.
Mark 7, that'd be the 460 kit.
We have an R460, which is it's a really nice kit. It's not cheap. It uses
it's a
brand new OEM turbo that's modified by Loba, and it makes great power. Drivability is like factory. We have a number of local customers that track their cars heavily that run it. That's what we would recommend. You can definitely piece together cheaper kits, using hardware and tuning from different sources. Looks like some Greek guys spamming our session here.
Yeah.
Any plans to do an ECU tune for the 3.0T supercharged Q7?
No, I looked at that. It's a completely different architecture. That's why no one offers it. It's the earlier CMOS version than what the other 3 liters are. And frankly, we've had like one person inquire about it. So don't think that
the Q7 is not a real mod heavy car.
Yeah.
I'm sure if you're one of the 6 people who wants to mod your Q7, you'll disagree. But
right, vehemently disagree. But sorry.
But we're going to dedicate engineering resources. It has to be for a sizable group of customers.
Yeah, and of course, if it was a free carryover like the Q5, not to
Yeah.
say we wouldn't have done the Q5 or SQ5 anyway, but that one is a direct translation from the the B8, S4, and S5.
I think the SQ5 is much more heavily modded
Very
than the
much so.
Q7.
And then, if they happen to put that same package in the Q7, then it would have gotten it as well. The Q7, unfortunately, is a generation earlier on the electronics package for the vehicle of that era. So, it's akin to the old, like 2012 A6 through there, which basically no one mods.
Someone's asking, Javada Nate, what's your favorite non-Audi VW Porsche motor or platform?
I saw that question.
I don't know, man. I'm kind of like,
I'm so embedded in the VAG
Me
stuff.
too.
I don't even know what else is out there. We talked about like what other car would you own or something, or what would you like to try? And I think I ended up at McLaren just because it's so weird and probably
McLarens
great.
are cool. I've been looking at some McLarens, but it's just to me like, well, what issues do they have and they break down, or yeah,
Yeah,
right.
no,
They're much less
yeah.
reliable.
Right.
Like, could you get a McLaren and an R8? To me, like the R8 does everything just as well, depending on the model you're comparing it to.
Yeah, it was more like a new thing for me to geek out over because it's
Yeah.
it's computer nerd everything in those. So yeah,
I think I'm with Nate. Anything McLaren would be cool if I really wanted to spend the energy delving
if you
into
just,
something.
like look pretty while driving. I'd say an Aston, some sort.
Yeah,
I could do with that.
Not an Aston Martin.
Austin Martin.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, when I start dreaming about cars I really want, I move into Porsche stuff.
Yep.
And as
We
they
got
said,
negated
it's-
out of there.
yeah,
The question.
but I have a weak spot for Porsches, but we don't have a thriving Porsche program, and I don't think we ever will. It's not really the right market, for us. But I was on the freeway playing around with a GT3 RS the other day, and in the R8, and it made me weak. The sounds that car made was, yeah. I wanted to shift the shit out of that.
No,
car.
like they explode between shifts.
Yeah, no, it like rips space time
He
continuum.
literally called me like
I called Nate. I'm like, can
2
we do
minutes
that with the
after.
R8? Like, we need to release an R8 tune that shifts like that. Obviously, there's plenty of other sounds that will
Right,
be
right.
made, but that 9,000 RPM,
Crack.
man, that was. So I think we're.
Yep, I think we're
another
pretty
minute
much
or two.
wrapping up
Yeah.
here.
Someone's asked about 4.0T. We are actually starting to work with DS1 on some products that we'll talk more about. And we are moving into 4.0T as well, so we should see a lot more development around that this summer. So stay tuned for 4.0T.
Yep,
Um,
all kinds of stuff.
but yeah, we're way behind on 4.0T compared to some of the tuners out there.
Yep.
And some of the stuff that's been going on. So.
We got lots of good stuff and some pretty innovative stuff coming.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us as always, and we appreciate it. Thanks for the great questions. We love answering them, and appreciate our customers and you guys out there doing this with us and making a market that we can live our dream come true jobs doing.
Coming
So
up on a full year of these. So.
yeah, that's been really cool. So thanks again, guys, and cheers. See you next week.
Screw